Jack Dappa Blues Heritage Preservation Foundation is a tax-exempt 501c3 nonprofit private foundation. Your donations, sponsoring, and funding allows us to create content that raises awareness of African American traditional music, African American folklore, and the Black experience. Check the link in the description box to donate. If you wish to sponsor podcasts, documentary series, or underwrite ads in our upcoming newspaper, The African American Folklorist, launching February 5th, 2020, contact the email address in the description box.
I think that in many cases we've been invited to, it's like being invited to a party to dance, but then told you can't have shoes, you can't do certain moves. You may have taken the invitation, but you're not going to be able to do what you were asked. And if you were punished for it or told, why are you not celebrating dance? Why are you not celebrating the party? It'll be unfair. It's the same thing when it comes to American folklore. We can't have people brought into spaces to talk about an African American experience when we won't even let them share their own oral stories. Or like having a table that you invite people to, but then saying there's only so much room. Instead of allowing people to make new tables, we can't say we want to hear these different stories, but then then close the door on stories that may not be familiar to us. Because the history of Black folks in America is one where we've had to negotiate at several points stories that evolved beyond what others were used to. We had elders that may not have been used to engaging with different ethnic groups, and then once their children merged, had children and then got involved in different cultures, you had to deal with another folk story, like in a practical way.
I heard that expressed in one of the paper presentation in folklore sessions today from one of the sisters that lived here in Baltimore, and she was talking about how she and other elders in her neighborhood, they created this sacred space that used the elements of folk tradition and folk exploration to share with folks that are unfamiliar with their community and their neighborhood.
Right.
But at the same time, she said it was absolutely necessary that folks that were invited to get this insider understanding were not allowed to control it. It was necessary for she and the group that she was affiliated with that made a second space for anybody. It was not just for other Black folks, but it was for anyone that wanted to come to understand that neighborhood, that community, their cultural creations. But they didn't come to say that this was a certain way it has to be done. No, we said you're here in a space that you're allowed to be who you are.
Be you are. Be free.
And you're free.
And we talk about that like it happens like we were talking with some of the people here earlier about the African American experience, and we're talking on how it's one thing to have a specific conversation, and a whole different thing to have a paternalistic conversation. If you have, for example, young adults who are invited to share about their experience as African Americans dealing with racism, if you're going to have that conversation, then they should be allowed to share. And when you tell someone they're not Black enough because they like anime and comics, but they are Black enough for liking hip hop music or jazz, then we've already shot ourselves in the foot.